Hey scholars! You guys, today I have some really exciting news and some really sad news. Which one do you want first? The exciting news? The exciting news is today we're finishing Pollyanna! Yay! Our first novel study is going to be done. The bad news is we're finishing Pollyanna. I loved this story, didn't you guys? Okay, let's do a quick recap. Now we know that after Pollyanna's accident, the doctor doesn't think that she'll ever walk again. We also know that Miss Polly finally now knows about the game. And Mr. Pendleton is going to be adopting Jimmy Bean. Miss Polly also made sure to tell Pollyanna that the entire town is glad because of her. Let's see how this story ends. We are on chapter 28, on page 216 in your books. The chapter is called Jimmy Takes the Helm. "It's Jimmy Bean. He wants to see you, ma'am," announced Nancy in the doorway. "Me?" asked Miss Polly, plainly surprised. "Are you sure he did not mean Miss Pollyanna? He may see her in a few minutes today if he likes." "Yes'm, I told him. But he said it was you he wanted." "Very well, I'll come down." In the sitting room, Miss Polly found a round-eyed boy who began to speak at once. "Ma'am, I suppose it's dreadful, but I'm doing what I'm saying, but I can't help it. It's for Pollyanna, and I'd walk over hot coals for her, or face you, or anything like that, any time. And I think you would, too, if you thought there was a chance for her to walk again. And so that's why I come to tell you, and that I knew you would ask Dr. Chilton here if you understood." What? Interrupted Miss Polly. Jimmy sighed despairingly. "There, I didn't mean to make you mad. That's why I begun by telling you about her walking again. I thought you'd listen to that." "Jimmy, what are you talking about? Begin at the beginning, and be sure I understand each thing as you go. Don't plunge into the middle of it as you did before, and mix everything up." Jimmy wet his lips determinedly. "Well, to begin with, Dr. Chilton come to see Mr. Pendleton, and they talked in the library. Do you understand that?" "Yes, Jimmy." Miss Polly's voice was rather faint. "Well, the window was open, and I was weeding the flower bed under it, and I heard 'em talk." "Oh, Jimmy, listening!" "I'm glad I listened," said Jimmy. "You will be when I tell you. Why, it may make Pollyanna walk." "Jimmy, what do you mean?" Miss Polly was leaning forward eagerly. "There, I told you so," nodded Jimmy contentedly. Contentedly means that he likes the way she's leaning forward and interested in what he's saying. "Well, Dr. Chilton knows some doctor somewhere that can cure Pollyanna. He thinks make her walk, you know, but he can't tell sure till he sees her. And he wants to see her something awful, but he told Mr. Pendleton you wouldn't let him." What does he wants to see her something awful mean? It doesn't mean that there's something really bad. It means that he wants to see her very badly. Miss Polly's face turned very red. "But Jimmy, I couldn't. That is, I didn't know." Miss Polly was twisting her fingers together helplessly. "Yes, and that's why I come to tell you, so you would know," asserted Jimmy eagerly. "They said that for some reason you wouldn't let Dr. Chilton come, and you told Dr. Warren so, and Dr. Chilton couldn't come himself without you asked him, and they was wishing somebody could make you understand, only they didn't know who could. I was outside the window, and I says to myself right away, 'By jinks, I'll do it.' And I come, and I have. Have I made you understand?" "Yes, Jimmy. But Jimmy, about that doctor," implored Miss Polly. "Who was he? Are they sure he could make Pollyanna walk?" They didn't say who he was. Dr. Chilton knows him, and he's just cured somebody just like her, Dr. Chilton thinks. You will tell Dr. Chilton to come, won't you? Now you understand?" Miss Polly turned her head from side to side. Her breath was coming in rapid gasps. Jimmy, watching her with anxious eyes, thought she was going to cry. But she did not cry. After a minute, she said, "Yes, I'll let Dr. Chilton see her. Now run home, Jimmy. I've got to speak to Dr. Warren. He's upstairs now. I saw him drive in a few minutes ago." A little later, Dr. Warren was surprised to meet an agitated Miss Polly in the hall. He was still more surprised to hear the lady say breathlessly, "Dr. Warren, you asked me once to allow Dr. Chilton to be called in consultation, and I refused. Since then I have reconsidered. I very much desire that you should call in Dr. Chilton. Will you not ask him at once, please? Thank you." Okay, Dr. Chilton is finally coming to see Pollyanna. Now we're on chapter 29, page 220, and it's called A New Uncle. The next time Dr. Warren entered Pollyanna's room, a broad-shouldered man followed close behind him. "Oh, Dr. Chilton, how glad I am to see you," cried Pollyanna. "But of course, if Aunt Polly doesn't want—" "It is all right, my dear. Don't worry," soothed Miss Polly, agitatedly, hurrying forward. "I have told Dr. Chilton that I want him to look you over with Dr. Warren this morning." "Oh, then you asked him to come," murmured Pollyanna contentedly. "Yes, dear, I asked him. That is—" But it was too late. The adoring happiness that had leapt to Dr. Chilton's eyes were unmistakable, and Miss Polly had seen it. With very pink cheeks, she turned and left the room hurriedly. Over the window, the nurse and Dr. Warren were talking earnestly. Dr. Chilton held out both his hands to Pollyanna. "Little girl, I'm thinking that one of the very gladdest jobs you ever did has been done today," he said in a voice shaken with emotion. At twilight, a wonderfully different Aunt Polly crept to Pollyanna's bedside. The nurse was at supper. They had the room to themselves. I wonder what Dr. Chilton means about her best work of being glad being done that day. Pollyanna, dear, I'm going to tell you the very first one of all. Someday I'm going to give Dr. Chilton to you for your uncle. And it's you that have done it all. Oh, Pollyanna, I'm so happy and so glad, darling. Pollyanna began to clap her hands but stopped. Aunt Polly, were you the woman's hand and heart he wanted so long ago? I knew you were. And that's what he meant by saying I'd done the gladdest job of all today. Why, Aunt Polly, I'm so glad that I don't mind. Even my legs now. Aunt Polly swallowed a sob. Perhaps someday, dear. But Aunt Polly did not finish. Aunt Polly did not dare to tell yet that the great hope that Dr. Chilton had put into her heart. But she did say, Pollyanna, next week you're going to take a journey. You're going to be carried in cars and carriages to a great doctor who has a big house many miles from here made for just such people as you are. He's a dear friend of Dr. Chilton's, and we're going to see what he can do for you. Wow, there's a lot in that chapter. Now we know that Aunt Polly wants Dr. Chilton to become Pollyanna's uncle. How would he become Pollyanna's uncle? It would be him marrying Aunt Polly. So now we finally know who Aunt Polly loved all those years ago. It was Dr. Chilton. They were sweethearts. And we also know that Pollyanna is going to go on a journey to a doctor who's going to try to make her legs work again. All right, guys, last chapter, chapter 30, which is a letter from Pollyanna, page 223. Dear Aunt Polly and Uncle Tom, I can walk! Today I walked all the way from my bed to the window. 6 steps! My, how good it was to be on legs again. All the doctors stood around and smiled, and all the nurses stood beside them and cried. A lady in the next ward who walked last week first peeked in the door, and another one who hopes she can walk next month was invited into the party, and she lay on my nurse's bed and clapped her hands. Even Tilly, who washes the floor, looked through the window and called me honey child when she wasn't crying too much. I don't see why they cried. I wanted to sing and shout and yell. Just think, I can walk, walk, walk. Now I don't mind being here almost 10 months. I didn't miss the wedding anyhow. Wasn't that just like you, Aunt Polly, to get married right beside my bed so I could see you? You always do think of the gladdest things. Pretty soon they say I shall go home. I wish I could walk all the way there. I do. I don't think I shall ever want to ride anywhere anymore. It will be so good just to walk. Oh, I'm so glad. I'm glad for everything. Why, I'm glad now I lost my legs for a while. For you never, never know how perfectly lovely legs are till you haven't got them. That go, I mean. I'm going to walk 8 steps tomorrow. With heaps of love to everybody, Pollyanna. The end, guys. So Pollyanna could walk again. It took her 10 months to do it, but now she can walk again. And Aunt Polly is married to Dr. Chilton, and they're going to all live together, and it was such a good ending, wasn't it? I loved it. All right, guys, I hope you loved this book as much as I do, and I'm so excited for us to talk about these last chapters together. Have a great day, you guys.